Howdy YouTube, this is Steven and I'm back with another photo analysis. This time I'll be analyzing the covers of Ayumi Hamasaki's single Days/Green. And this photo analysis was requested by YouTube user LV90047 space period. So thanks a lot for the request, LV. And here we go. Alright, I'm going to start my analysis with single jacket A. And if you notice, this is a beauty shot. And there's roses all around Ayumi Hamasaki. Her hair is styled with slight, soft, slight curls, which I think works for her. And she's positioned her hand in a particular way. And she's kind of tilting her head a little bit, just slightly. And also she is showing cleavage as well. And that is always a good thing to help elevate the quality of a photo. But this photo is nice. Don't get me wrong. This is Ayumi looks beautiful in this photo. However, there's something missing, and what is missing is in the face. The facial expression is off to me. What is she trying to say with that facial expression? I'm not sure. I don't know. It seems like her mind is somewhat vacant. There's nothing in particular that's on her mind. However, I do like the position of her hand and her head. I like that her head is slightly tilted. It sort of helps create a little dynamic in the photo. But for me, again, I think this is a beautiful photo of Ayumi. However, I just think that the facial expression is lacking. And in photos, especially beauty shots, the face is the most important thing. If you can't mirror the body language with the face and connect those two, then you don't really have a good photo. However, I do think this is a respectable photo. However, I just think that the photo is missing something. That's the issue with the photo for me personally. As well, I think that the flowers in the hair, the roses in the hair, it was a bit much. That wasn't necessary. I think that kind of brings down the quality of the photo. If her hair was just bare, that would have made the photo better. The flowers could be a little distracting for some people. Okay, let's move on to the next photo. This is the photo for single jacket B. This photo for me, it's a beauty shot. But I don't like her facial expression here. Her facial expression, to me, it's either vacant, there's nothing on her mind, or either she looks slightly sad. Either she's a little sad or just she doesn't have any thoughts at all. And I don't like that look. Me personally, I think Ayumi has really beautiful eyes. I'm not sure if those eyes were the result of genetics or a trip to the plastic surgeon. I don't know. I've heard rumors and stories. However, wherever they came from, I think that Ayumi has beautiful eyes. However, I feel like she's not using those eyes to the best of their ability. Again, I like Ayumi Hamasaki's hair, and I like the hair color too. I think the hair color really works in this photo. It helps like blend everything, like blend the colors together into a nice color palette. However, the roses in her hair make her hair look a little messy, a little disheveled. Again, I don't think the roses were necessary to put in her hair. That brings down the quality of the photo. And considering that this is a beauty shot, like that is very important because the hair helps create and kind of like the hair helps complement the face. But if you're taking away from the hair, and plus the facial expression is already not quite here, not quite there, then you end up with this photo. And again, Ayumi looks beautiful, but the facial expression is letting her down. It's just, it's like, what is she thinking? What is she trying to portray to us? Me personally, I think that Ayumi might be going for sort of a serene look, or either the look of like she saw heaven and just kind of like mesmerized, perhaps. So either she's trying to look mesmerized or either serene. Either way, it didn't translate well into a photo. I do like the coloration of the roses in this photo. I like the dark pink roses and the light pink roses. I like that coloration. And again, I also like the hint of cleavage. So thanks a lot for that, Ayumi. But on to the next photo. This is the photo for Single Jacket C. Alright, for Single Jacket C, I finally see some life in Ayumi Hamasaki's eyes. Some type of expression. Something. So that's good. However, I don't like this facial expression, but I think she's trying to go for maybe slightly surprised. Like based on the way her face looks and the positioning of her hand, she's trying to go for maybe surprise, but I don't think she totally committed. Or perhaps she's going for like the heartbroken look, like her heart is broken, that type of a look. Again, it's up for interpretation. The flowers in her hair, again, they're not necessary. However, in this photo, I think they work better than they did in the previous photos that we've looked at so far. But again, the facial expression could have been stronger. She could have worked her face better, because after all, this is a beauty shot, and a beauty shot relies on the face, and that's the most important thing in a beauty shot, as well as like say a body shot. Like having a crazy face would like mess up the photo, but definitely in a beauty shot, because you don't have much else to rely on except for your face, and maybe kind of like, oh, some hand placement here, and positioning of your head and things like that. But ultimately, it's the face that's going to sell or not sell this photo. It's going to make or break it. And I think ultimately this photo, it barely works. Barely. I mean, I'm being really lenient because I think this is so far probably the better photo that we've seen thus far. Alright, on to the final photo. And this is the cover for Single Jacket D. Alright, let me say that I do like the coloration of the roses in this photo. I like that, they have the mixture of the dark and light pink. I like Ayumi Hamasaki's hair color. Again, the roses in the hair bring down the quality of the photo, and I think they kind of take away from her hair in this particular photo. As well, I think that, when I look at this photo, I just wind up asking myself, what is Ayumi thinking, or what is she like? I mean, look at her facial expression here. It's very, like, again, it's very vacant. It's kind of like she just doesn't have anything on her mind. And that's not a good look. You should always have something on your mind unless you're asleep. And even if you're sleeping, you often have dreams, so something is on your mind a lot of times when you're sleeping. But here she's wide awake, but she's almost kind of like a zombie, kind of like alive but dead at the same time. A little bit. It's kind of, zombified Ayumi Hamasaki. But I mean, look at her eyes. They're kind of blank, and her facial expression, it's blank. This, like, Ayumi looks beautiful in this photo, but her facial expression, it's letting her down. Her facial expression in beauty shots, the face, like I said before, the facial expression sells the shot. This facial expression isn't selling this shot. Ayumi has a lot of things working for her, but just the facial expression brings that, like, brings down the quality. If you can't do anything else right in the photo, if you have crazy looking body language, if you have messed up hair, if you have messed up makeup, if you have, like, crappy photoshopping, crappy like props or extras, like, if everything else is crazy, the one thing that you can control is your face. That's the one thing that you have the most control over. And I think that's the one thing that can save the photo, is the facial expression. Because you notice in the photo, like, it looks good. Like, everything seems to be, like, for the most part, everything seems to be working well. I mean, imagine that the roses weren't in her hair. Let's imagine that. And she still had the same facial expression. It still wouldn't sell. But if she had a stronger facial expression, these roses would not be such a big deal. Like, they wouldn't really affect the quality of the photo as much. But What do I know? You know, I mean, at the end of the day, what do I know? I'm not a photographer. I'm not an artistic director. I'm not a hairstylist, a makeup artist. You know, I'm not, a assistant photographer. Like, I don't really have all that, you know, any type of a background in, you know, photography. But nevertheless, I think I brought up some good points. Many times when I look at, photos like these of singles and they have different variations of the photo, it's difficult for me to choose my favorite photo. However, when I first looked at these photos and looked at all four of them, I knew which photo I was going to choose as my favorite. Can you guess which photo is my favorite photo? And by the way, this is more like the best of the worst for me. But again, if you chose Single Jacket C as my favorite photo, you would be correct. I rank these photos as follows. Single Jacket C is the best photo. Single Jacket A is the second best photo. Single Jacket B is the third best photo. Single Jacket D is the fourth and least best photo. Why Single Jacket C? Well, because she has somewhat of a facial expression here. She looks like she has at least something on her mind. She doesn't look vacant. She looks like she has a soul. She's not the living dead. I mean, she has a decent body positioning, at least of her hand. The roses work well in the photo. So for those reasons, this is the photo that I think is the best photo. And by the way, I assume that the theme of these photos revolves around the title, which is green/days. And I don't really see the theme played up that much. But then again, that is a difficult theme to interpret. I guess the greenery could be interpreted as like the roses in full bloom, perhaps. And I guess the days would be like it's bright. I noticed that these photos are really bright. And also, by the way, I think in the beginning of this video, I may have mispronounced the name of this single as Days/Green instead of Green/Days. So again, like just in case I made that error, I just want to correct it right then and there, like right here, right now. But that's all I have to say. I think I've gone on for long enough about these photos. Feel free to let me know your opinions of these photos. You like them, you dislike them, you agree with what I said, you disagree with what I said, with anything I've said. Feel free to let me know. Feel free to comment. Feel free to subscribe. Feel free to give me a thumbs up. The feedback and the support is extremely appreciated. So until the next photo analysis, adios and goodbye for now.